Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast. And, usual drill, basically. Games, movies, TV. Something from the week when this was recorded. That's probably about it, to be fair. If you're checking us out on YouTube, do subscribe, because it's cool. And if you're an audio listener, then subscribe on SoundCloud, iTunes, or anywhere that you can get a podcast from. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. I sat down without the old man sound. My word. Maybe I'm getting younger. Maybe I've got that Benjamin Button thing going on. That's absolutely not true. My body is ready for the scrap heap. Hey, how you doing? You well? You good? So, a little bit of business, a little bit of housekeeping, I think we should call it. Before we get started, did a lot of podcast coding over the weekend. And here's the situation. I'm looking at the list, I'm like, there's nothing on the list. Other than a lot of stuff that's like going on at the moment, and then literally like one film, one VR game, one game. What are the chances that this podcast ends up being over an hour? So we'll come to it. It's actually an agenda item on the list. I don't know. Did a lot of podcast coding, as I said, and I've noticed a bit of a trend, bit of a pattern at the moment. Not a huge amount to talk about. There's very little going on in the world. But then these podcasts end up running a bit longer, whatever. Anyway, we'll come on to that. That was not how I pictured it. That was not how I imagined it. As far as housekeeping's concerned, you'd probably say that the house is still dirty. So yeah. Here we go. Something to ponder over. First order of business is my email address. And this is my personal email address, not the podcast email address. Thankfully, my personal email address. I keep saying to people, it's got out there. I don't know what's happened. I don't know how it's happened. I don't know, whether I've clicked the wrong thing on the wrong website. And I don't mean that as like the wrong website. I mean like just with all these cookies, and you've got to say yes to this and no to that. Some websites make it really difficult for you to say no. Some websites make it quite easy, but at the same time you still have to go through the process of saying that you don't want to do certain things. I'm very much in the camp of do not use my data for anything, and it offends me that you are still in a position to still use certain amounts of data anyway. And I think I've probably spoken about this at length before. I remember the upset of the Nero's coffee app, and actually sitting down and reading through the terms and conditions of the app and just being horrified about how data gets used. And it's all there. It's all there in the terms and conditions, and it's just it's horrific. It's so bad. Things like if you use the Wi-Fi in the store, anything that you then do on their Wi-Fi is fair game. So, for example, if you go onto Facebook using their Wi-Fi, like your Facebook, all of your contacts, friends, photos, all of that sort of stuff was all fair game. Now at this point in time, I'm not blaming Nero's. They are still very much my favourite, my go-to coffee establishment. But I'm just giving an example. So I don't know how it's happened. Whether it's I've clicked the wrong thing in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person, or what. I don't know how it's happened. What I do know is I now get, on average, between 4 and 10 emails a day. That's just it's spam. It's all spam. It's the email equivalent of cold callers. And it's just some of the stuff you get sent. One of them, I was like, right, well, there's an option there to unsubscribe from this. So I pressed the unsubscribe button, and it just took me to a website that wanted to sell me something. There was no link between the email I've received and the website it took me to, and any sort of like, I want to unsubscribe from this email. And when I'm sat at the computer, I can literally mark them as, this is spam, I don't want to see this, get it the hell out of here. When I'm on my phone, I can't find a way to do that. I can move the email to the spam folder, but I can't like mark it as spam. And it's just like some of the stuff, like when the presidential election was going on, I was getting a lot of like support Biden emails that were clearly they're clearly fraudulent and just designed to steal all my money, all my millions. But I wrote it on the list today because, well, in fact, right, I've got my phone here, so this is this kind of thing, because I get the feeling that at this point some people might be like, why the hell are you bothering us with this nonsense? Where's that here? Here we go. Now then, how do I say this? Oh no, I'm receiving emails now. Right. You're approved. That's the title of the email, but it's spelled Y-O-U-R-E. All one word. All one. That is just one word. So, I've been approved. You're approved. Some kind of reward. Open immediately. Your email has been selected. Get $100. $100. So we're not even in the right currency. Gift card for something that I wouldn't even be able to pronounce. And apparently, my opinion is important. Is that an unsubscribe? Apparently this is a New York-based whatever. Yeah, unsubscribe does absolutely nothing. Unsubscribe probably makes it worse. That's probably why I'm getting so many. Maybe I've tried to unsubscribe from something, and that's why I'm now getting all these emails. But I get multiple emails a day. I'm just trying to find another example. He says, I get so many a day. No, I can't find any of them. That's because I moved them all, I bin them all. So I'm in a situation now where I'm now like, well, hang on a minute. Let's say my email address has got out into the ether, into the World Wide Web, and somebody is now, or a group of people are now trying to defraud me for all my money. How do you stop that from happening? Because I just get bombarded with emails all day, every day now. And like I say, you move it to spam folder and you just get like more the next day from different places. It's constant, it's non-stop. But I've been left with this thought and feeling of, how do I stop this from happening? What is the method? Part of me is like, am I going to have to close my email address down? I've had that email address for donkey's years. Donkey's years, I tell you. So yeah, some of the stresses and strains of the average day in my brain. Right, let's get into some nitty gritty. Cast your minds back quite a while. What will it be? Where are we? 6 weeks? 8 weeks? No, 6 weeks, let's say. Cast your minds back 6 weeks. Which won't be 6 weeks at the time that you hear this, so, more than 6 weeks. Anybody remember when it was like Christmas and I was boasting that I'd lost weight over Christmas? So, the way my life, my world, my mind works is certain things, certain good things. It's hard to explain. It's like when I was like, oh, I lost weight over Christmas. So what that means is that I can go completely off the rails. It's like everything that you didn't eat at the time that you could have eaten it, for like 1 week. Yeah, just eat it now, because you were successful in your goal. Add to that getting a small addiction for anything with the word Oreo on it. Anything that says Oreo, I'm like, yeah, yes please. And it's been a difficult time. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a difficult time. It's anything. Double stuff, single, thins. I had a mint Oreo the other day. I found some Halloween Oreos. They were exactly the same, but they were the stuff was orange. Same flavour though. But the Oreos have been like some kind of gateway drug. So on my cheat day, I was like, Oreos are not going to cut it today. I've had my cheat meal. It's time for my cheat pudding. It's chocolate o'clock. I generally have a bit of a love-hate situation with chocolate. And this has always been this way, always. Since I was a child, I have been like, oh my god, chocolate, get in my body. And just smashing it into the face. And then there have been other times where I've been like, do you know what? I can't think of anything worse in this world than chocolate. And that has been my life since being a child, and I can't explain it. I think it was something to do with like summer and winter. Like at that time, all I could think was there was nothing worse than like a melted chocolate bar. So like when you're in the summer months, the last thing you would want would be chocolate. Weirdly though, and I am deeply offended by chocolate in the fridge. That is deeply offensive to me. So don't even go down that route. So there's that. So Saturday, cheat meal, cheat whatever, cheat tea, meal, meal, pudding. I was jonesing for some chocolate. Absolutely jonesing. So I then have to go hunting for chocolate because it's not a thing that is really in the house. Luckily for me, not luckily for my diet, but luckily for me, we still had leftover Super Bowl treats. So I was tucking into some M&Ms. But yeah, Oreos. I've got into this thing of having a 3 o'clock cup of tea and some sort of Oreo to dip in it. Cup of tea? Jesus, what is wrong with you, man? Coffee. I don't drink tea because it's the absolute worst thing ever. Coffee, Oreo to dip in it. Once you start down that sort of route, once you start down it's 3 o'clock, best go and get me coffee and me Oreo, it's kind of game over, I find. It's tough to get out of, but it's real easy to not only continue, but be like, I had my 3 o'clock coffee and Oreo. 8 o'clock now. I'm gonna have a cup of coffee. Last cup of coffee of the day, sort of thing. Oh man, it's just not the same without an Oreo, is it? I mean, I suppose I could have one. It's that sort of thing. So yeah, I am not happy about any of this situation. But since like the week after Christmas to now, which like I say is like 6 weeks or something, it's been a little off the rails. And yeah, I've reached this point now where it's like, right, it's time to get back on track, and I've been using the slow cooker to make pretty much like 90% of the meals, but I think sort of the realisation of maybe it's not slow cooker time anymore, maybe it's time to move and ultimately transcend back to salad in the warmer months. So yeah, a shift is happening, but yeah, I've been off the rails, which here's something, and when you just like, so last Monday was the day after Super Bowl, or in some ways the day of the Super Bowl, and I got up and all I could think was I just need to get working and things like that, and I was like, today's not the day to step on the scales. So I made the conscious decision to not go on the scales. And some part of me thinks that was absolutely the right thing to do, because I had eaten my body weight in all sorts of stuff. So I was like, let's just take the week off, and then we'll just, work out, get some runs in, all of that. Let's add to that. So think of we're starting the week on a bad foot. Let's add to it. Let's add enough snow to not be able to go running Monday morning. So we're 2-0 at this point. Let's then add to that enough snow to not go running Tuesday morning, and Wednesday's a rest day anyway. I'm like, we're in a bad place at this point in time, because it's already it's already filtering through the brain. Do we need to go running anymore? Maybe have another Oreo. It's all going like this last week was a proper off the rails situation. So by Thursday I was like, get out that door now. Get a run done. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rest day from running Sunday. Brings us to today. So I was like, if I had to guess, I'm going to step on the scales and I will have put on 6 pounds. That was comfortable to me. Not in a I'd have been happy with that. No. What I mean is, if I'd have stepped on the scales and it said that I'd put on 6 pounds in weight, I'd have been like, yeah, that's about right. And then it would have just been like a new goal. Let's get rid of those 6 pounds. More than that, I'd have been a bit in the camp of, do you know what? That's not amazing. Like if it had been 8 pounds, I'd have been like, that's not amazing. But I'd have still been like, yeah, that's right, that's fair. Any more than that, just probably have a little cry. I feel because I've not talked about something, I feel like I'm jumping ahead a little. So how's this? Let's jump backwards we'll go back to come forwards. So I didn't run all week up till Thursday. Thursday I get out the door, I'm like, just do the run, the standard run, get under your belt, job done. Which I did, and that was that. Friday, out the door, got the run done, job done. So at this point in time, there's two things. One, I'm doing a challenge in the month of February. It's just a thing as part of Runkeeper. At the start of the month, it was like, do you want to do a challenge? I was like, yeah, cool. So what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know, I want to run 50 miles in February because it's a shorter month. So that's a real challenge. Okay, you're going to run 50 miles in February. Do you know what doesn't help you run 50 miles in February? Missing 2 days when it was already going to be a stretch. When I actually worked it out, it was like, oh, that's a lot. Anywho. So, gets to Saturday. Now, Saturday is the long run day. So I was like, do you know what? I've been working through, I know I can do 3 miles, and I know that after doing 3 miles I kind of feel like I could have done more. So maybe all of these factors put together to mean that I should do a long run. So maybe we're talking 5 miles. No, it's a big jump, admittedly, from 3 to 5. It's so what? It's 3 point something, 3.5 miles. I used to work on the principal was 5k. So it's another 1.5 miles on 3.5. So what are you thinking? Like 6.5k. So, you know, it's a jump. We're not saying it's not. Me and Leanne had been having a conversation about different runs in the area, and she told me, she was like, "I've got a run for you," and it was like, run from here to town. Run from town, like Fishergate, Fulford, which if you don't live in York, you probably don't know what those places are. Down into Fulford, along up Broadway, up past the golf course, up past the university, all of that sort of stuff. She was like, "That's 5 miles," and I was just thinking, "I'm good, thanks," because that's a really long way for only 5 miles. She was like, "I've got another run for you. Go out down the road, go round the corner, all the way out onto the main road. Come back. That's 2 miles." So I was like, if that's 2 miles, and my other run's 3 miles, 2 and 3 is 5 the last time I checked. That's my run right there. That's it. So secretly in my head I was like, I'm going to do that run. So I set out on Saturday morning for this monster run. Monster to me, not to others. I'm aware of this. Man. So we've had some proper minus 6 mornings recently. I set out, I got over the road. The wind was so cold, I could feel it going through to my bones. Like the wind was just going through to my very core. And I was just like, I don't think I can do this. And I'm looking at the road ahead and I was like, well, we're going downhill, there's some buildings and stuff, so I'll be shielded somewhat. And once I get so far, I'll warm up and all this. But I was properly can I walk it? Does that still count? Anyway, got out, did my, I think it was about 2.5 miles to start with. So then I set out, after doing that, I set out to do the 2 mile section. What I'd been told was 2 miles. So I'm heading back towards home, and I had a podcast playing and I had to change the podcast, so I'm changing the podcast, and because of that I had to open the phone, and I'm coming on the home stretch, and Runkeeper's like, you've done 4 miles, and I was just like, how? It's physically impossible to have only done 4 miles, because without adding on that massive section I've just done, it would have been 3, and there is no way on this earth the section I just added on was only a mile. It's physically impossible. There is no possible way that bit I added on was only a mile. So rather than turning towards home, I turned away from home. I was like, screw this, I'm not having this. So I headed out opposite way to home, through all the houses, through all the streets, up onto onto a different main road, heading away from home. So then I was like, right, if I now turn towards home and run this is a long section of road, and then there's, getting home and stuff, I think we'll have done it. So I got back. I think it was it an hour and 3 minutes or something? 4.6 miles. Honestly, I was just like, nah, I'm not accepting that. I ran a 10k once in that sort of time. And I know I'm not at 10k sort of speed these days, but it's physically impossible. I was mortified. So that was my Saturday. So I've got all of these factors working together. So that brings us back to stepping on the scales this morning. Now there was one thing I haven't mentioned, because when you're telling a story, you want to leave a little bit of a suspense, leave the best till last, all of that sort of stuff. There was one thing I knew above all of this that didn't add up, and I thought maybe it was a glitch in the Matrix. Because I'm an old man. When I work out, there are certain exercises that I wear a belt, a weights belt. Now I know some of you at this point are like, that's not being an old man. That's proper gym etiquette, my friend. And I agree, but I'm late to the party. So for certain exercises, I wear a weight belt. And what I've realised over the course of the last week is that I've gone on to a different notch. Then what I realised was that the difference between these notches is like an inch. And I tried absolutely everything to be like, maybe I'm just wearing it in a different position. Was I wearing different clothes when I was wearing this last? Maybe that's it. Maybe I was wearing the clothes in a different place. Maybe the belt sits differently with these trousers. Maybe the belt sits differently with this jacket. I even got to the point, it's like not quite half an inch thick, but I got to a point like, I suppose it could have stretched. All of these sorts of things, to ignore the fact that when I was putting the belt on, I was previously at one notch, and then I'm now at a different notch. I think we know what's coming here. Stepped on the scales this morning after just being completely off the rails, and I had lost weight. I cannot explain that, other than there is a theory behind a higher calorie intake is better in certain working situations. If you're running and you're working out and all that, you should probably be taking on a few more calories. But I think it works on the principle you should probably be taking on good calories, a bit more protein maybe. I don't think anywhere in the guide to losing weight and getting jacked does it say eat Oreo biscuits. So yeah, after a month of not losing any weight, I did in fact lose weight today. And no, I can't understand it, and no, I can't explain it. So if you are in the business, which business? Who knows? If you're in the business and you want to write in and tell me why this has happened, feel free. I will not only listen to what you have to say, I will read out your findings. Because that's super baffling. Now then, The housekeeping that I did very poorly at the start of the episode was alluding to something. So the pattern I've seen recently is that, we're all locked in the house and we've got nowhere to go, no one to see, nothing to do. Yet, the pattern I've noticed is I coded 4 podcasts at the weekend and each of them just got longer. I think one of the more recent ones, was skirting the edge of an hour and a half. And I was like, you know something? Nobody listens to this anyway. But of the people that do listen, do I honestly believe that those people are sitting for an hour and a half and listening to me yammer on about, well, it's nonsense, isn't it? Let's face it. So, way back in the dark depths of time, when I decided, hey, I've got a great idea, let's do a podcast. I was heavily influenced by other podcasters, as we know, Bill Burr, Kevin Smith, Joe Rogan to some degree, so on and so forth. Something that struck me was Bill Burr does 2 podcasts a week. One's like an hour on average. The other is half an hour with old content added to it. And when I saw that time that was skirting an hour and a half, I was like, I mean, that's too long. And then I started thinking, and I was like, wonder if maybe it's time to split this podcast down. Maybe it's time to start doing a second podcast for people to, not listen to. So again, I'm throwing this out to you, the podcast listener, stroke viewer, stroke, fan. What do you think? Another podcast? Do like a Monday and a Friday and release them on a Tuesday and a Saturday? If I was going to do that, what I would probably do is look at bringing the whole thing a lot more up to date, like release sort of everything that I've got at the moment, and then maybe look at doing like a more current release schedule type thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking, ideas. Let me know what you think. Anyway, I'll leave it in your capable hands. So, there we go. I haven't watched a massive number of films this week. I've been trying to get through Two Bears One Sap, the Two Bears One Cave live event that they did for the Super Bowl with Warren Sapp. It was 4.5 hours long. It's taken me a week to get through it. I finished it this evening. It wasn't amazing, if I'm honest. In hindsight, I actually wished I'd have watched it at the time of the Super Bowl. But hindsight's 2020, isn't it? I did watch a film the other day. I didn't write it on the list, but I am actually going to talk about it briefly. It was a film called We Own the Night. Not a bad cast list. Joaquin Phoenix, Mark Wahlberg, Robert Duvall, and Eva Mendes. And it was like two sides of a thing. It was like the cops, and the other side was like the bad guys, whatever you want. However, the two sides were joined in the middle by Joaquin Phoenix's character, because he was the brother of Mark Wahlberg's character, who was a police officer, and the son of Robert Duvall, who was a police officer, but he was more involved with the... He wasn't more involved, he was just connected to illegal activities, even though he himself wasn't majorly doing anything illegal. So when I was looking at it, I was like, good cast list, interesting premise. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. Up until about halfway through, I was on board with this film, and then it just kind of took a bit of a nosedive, and by the 3/4 of the way through, and especially towards the very end of the film, I just reached a point where I was like, what is the point to this? I was just struggling to care. And weirdly, I thought about it and I was like, with a cast list the way it is, why have I not heard about this film? And I think that was the reason why. It wasn't overly compelling, I don't think. I think I was just a bit like, I am watching this and stuff is happening. Do I care? Not really. In a lot of ways, it was fine. But I just ended up wondering what the deal was. I was very much in the kind of, what are we doing here? So, like I said, I didn't actually put it down on the list because I was just a bit disappointed with the whole experience. But there, I've ended up talking about it anyway. This is going to be another week where I go against my own rules, and we're going to talk about a film that not only is a film I've seen before, it could possibly be the film I've seen the most. Now here's the thing, in the last, probably going to forget the last couple of months, I have watched the 3 films that I have seen the most. Hands down the most. So Blade is a film I've seen a shit ton. The Matrix is a film I have seen a lot of times. Now of those 2, Blade was pretty much as I remember it. The Matrix, on the other hand, I seem to have watched it with different eyes. Got a lot more out of it now than I ever did. The film that we're going to talk about this week, that I have seen before, it could well be the film I've seen the most, although I've just had one pop into my head that I might have seen more. Film in question is the film Fight Club. I have seen Fight Club so many times that I worked on the principle I never needed to watch it again. But you know when you're in that situation where lots of things point you in a certain direction, it's like the world's trying to tell you something, and you ultimately end up in that, I think I'm supposed to watch Fight Club. It was very much that situation. What did I watch with Brad Pitt? Oh, I watched Snatch. This is the reason that I haven't got a load of films to talk about, because all I've been doing is watching stuff I've seen before. And I promised you that I wasn't going to do this. Talk about films I've seen before. I watched Snatch. Very much one of those. I'm not going to tell you about Snatch. That's kind of where I'm at. But I was very much in that, man, Brad Pitt is nothing short of awesome in that film. Which led me ultimately to Fight Club. I've seen Fight Club so many times. It was one of those, I'd watched it like 9 times in a week at one point and stuff like that. This was when it first came out. I used to have parties where I'd get people around who hadn't seen it, just so that I could be the person who showed it to them, so I could watch them have that realisation of the film. But as we know, going back and watching films many years later, it's like watching with different eyes. Now, obviously, when you've got the Fight Club element, it's very much in the we all know the twist. So you're watching it with the eyes of, I know the twist, I know the outcome, I know this element's this and that element's that and that's that and this is that and that. But like I say, when you watch it with different eyes, older eyes, a lot of time has passed eyes, you see things differently. I did look a few things up. It was a film I knew a lot of trivia about. I knew a lot about it as a film, but I did learn some stuff. So here's something that I didn't know. Now I saw 2 versions of this story, so I don't know which is overly correct. One of the versions was that Brad Pitt had dental surgery to put a chip into his tooth because he was portraying somebody who fought a lot. So partway through the film, he develops this chip in his tooth. Again, weirdly, I think I only noticed it having seen it this time. The other version of the story was that very similar, but the chip in Brad Pitt's tooth is there, and what he had was the cap removed, which would then show the chip, and then after filming had the cap replaced. Either way, that's pretty fucking hardcore. That's pretty hardcore for an actor. I mean, I'm all about, you talk about your Christian Bales whose weight and things like that just fluctuates so much. I think it's like Tom Hanks ended up getting diabetes from losing the amount of weight he lost to do Castaway, stuff like that. But yeah, either one of those stories, if true, what I mean is one of them potentially is true. It's hard fucking core, man. Hardcore. So, the thing that struck me about it is Edward Norton is amazing in that film. But you can't get away from the fact that realistically he isn't a scrap on Brad Pitt in that film. Brad Pitt is just a juggernaut in that film. I feel that this goes back to a time when Brad Pitt was for want of a better way of putting it, was acting. 12 Monkeys, Fight Club. You've got Snatch. These various roles. Which was the TV show and which was the film just California but spelled with a K? And the TV show with David Duchovny, was that Californication? Yeah, that makes sense. Just roles that Brad Pitt was really just throwing everything at. And, maybe since then, his acting life has maybe got a bit easier. Anywho, Edward Norton, Brad Pitt, monstrous in it. But the thing that I focused on watching it this time was for all of the little things that are in that film, it's Marla. It's Helena Bonham Carter's character. That when I went going back and watching it now, I was like, oh my god, she was giving it away the whole time. She was telling the truth the whole way through the film. And yeah, I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, and I get, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but she is telling you the whole time the deal, because she's being truthful, because she doesn't understand what's going on, and rightly so. I know, you reach a point in the film where they're making it more and more obvious. And this goes back to a time where you want to believe things, so you just believe what it tells you until it tells you something different. But that film is a masterpiece. It's going back and watching it, I was just filled with all the feelings and the emotions and the excitement and that ecstatic elation of being a part of that film. I don't mean that. I just meant like watching it that first time and just being absolutely blown away, and then watching it again and again and again, and it's still having the impact, even though you know what's coming. I'm watching it this time. There are so many little things, so many nuances, so many amazing shots, so much. It's dark and it's grungy and it's dirty and it makes you feel all of that. It's an absolute masterpiece. I did see, there are various things. It's listed on like so many lists, and it's way up at the top of a lot of them. Just an absolute masterpiece. So yeah, it was a super fun experience. Like, I've been having these good old times with going back to these films that were huge parts of my life. A really special, a really interesting, a really I suppose a really exciting time of my life. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyable experience. It's one of those I would heartily recommend. It's one of those, if you've never seen it, but I mean, geez, if you've never seen it, that ship might have sailed, because I don't know why you would have got to this point, and I don't think my words are going to change that. But if you haven't seen it, maybe now's the time. If you have seen it, and like me, you've maybe seen it a few times, maybe haven't seen it for a while, I would absolutely encourage you to go and give it a whirl now, because it is just a masterpiece. So, moving away from all that, let's talk computer games. Nothing. I think I covered a couple of things. When you set your mind to, I'm going to sit down and play this game, which I know is going to be 100+ hours, it's very difficult to then do a weekly podcast to talk about that particular game. But hey, let's talk some VR, because for once, and I honestly think it might have been once, I did play some VR. I'm still plugging away at Stormland. As a game, I find it thoroughly enjoyable. If I had more time and more ability to spend more time playing it, I absolutely would. But as we know, time is a factor, I'm afraid. There are only so many hours in the day, and there certainly aren't enough of hours. So I have played it in the last week, which is why we're talking about it now. Super fun, super enjoyable, very much so. So I was like, well, we're talking about the same games this week, so we need to talk about different parts of the games. Something that stands out for me with the game Stormland is you don't always know that what you're doing is the right thing. Give you an example. I hadn't played it for a little while, so stepping back in, it's a bit like, let's just, what does this button do? What's that? That sort of thing. So it's like, go here. All right, I've gone there. You need to destroy 30 robots. Okay. But after a while, I was like, didn't I do this area previously? And didn't I then travel to a new area? So should I be at a new area now, or is this the right area? And the point to that is there's no way to find out that information. You just kind of have to trust that because the game is letting you play in that area, that you're in the right area. As a game, it does leave a little bit, quite a lot open to interpretation, and if you're dumb like me, it's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I going to the right place? Should I be going somewhere else? Should I be doing something else? And it's got like objectives, and the objectives give you information, and you can go, you can select things on the map and stuff. But it's got a load of really cool features. The map in question, when you press for the map, it opens like in front of you, and you can kind of move around the map like physically. Cool little feature. At this point in time, I've got a load of different robotic arms that I can attach to me. The one I'm using at the moment creates little drones that will attack enemies for you, which is a cool little feature. I got so far, I got to a point where I was like, I wasn't really sure whether I knew what I was supposed to be doing, so I just went to this area where there was loads of enemies and just started killing loads of enemies. But there is this like giant robot that's got shields and stuff, and I was just banging my head against the wall a bit at that point, so it just so happened to coincide with needing to turn it off, so it was a bit like, yeah, I'm good with that. As I always like to say, I will go back to it and I will play more of it when excuse me, when that option arises. Maybe Wednesday. Other game in question is still Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like I say, it's very difficult to talk about the same game week in, week out. But when the game you're playing is, I'm sure is going to be well over 100 hours, that's what happens. So we need to talk about other things about the game. This last week, I found the game to be quite glitchy. A common glitch is not cutscenes, but like the scenes where people are talking. None of the characters' mouths move, which is a little confusing at times. But it is what it is. And then another thing that I've had a couple of times is it's like the game just can't handle what it's trying to do. So things just systematically start breaking. Like you'll be travelling along and it can't do the texturing for the stuff that's around, and then the horse will get stuck in a wall, and then you go to do a mission, and like the mission marker isn't there, so you can't start the mission, and it just, all of these things start compounding, and the game starts running slower and slower and slower, and then eventually it just crashes. And then you're in a position where it's like, right, great, because it's not the quickest of loading games. So like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go through like reloading all of that, and you can guarantee it hasn't saved for a while, and it's just all that sort of stuff. I've said before that I do feel that we're now probably starting to see the difference between things like the PS4, the PS4 Pro, and the PS5. I never made the move to the PS4 Pro because I didn't really see the point. Although I was aware that it was supposed to be better. As for the PS5, I think I've talked at length about my opinions about the PS5, and you can't get one for love of money anyway. So, as I say, I am still playing it. I imagine once I've finished talking to you, lovely people, I'll probably be putting it on. And something that I've had people talk to me about that has been expressed as a super annoying things with the more recent Assassin's Creed games. It's the leveling system. You can't go to certain places because you're not that level. You can't fight certain enemies because you're not that level. You can't kill this guy because you're not that level. I never really experienced it in the previous two games. I find that when I play these games, I'm naturally grinding away at them because you're doing missions and you're doing, side missions, and you're visiting places, so you get XP for that, and you get into fights and you get XP for that and stuff. So I never really experienced an issue with the leveling in the previous couple of games, but I was very much aware of its existence. So although I knew it was there, I didn't have a problem. I didn't have to deal with it. That is not the case with this one. I've reached a point where I am actually wandering around doing any side mission I can lay my hands on, because the only place that I can go to was level 130, and my character was level 111. A massive difference in leveling there, but as far as the game's concerned, there is very little I can find to actually do. So the leveling system is quite annoying in this, because it's something that I've been dealing with for quite a while now. I'd got a mission, and it wanted me to be level 90, and I was level 67. And you're just in that position of, what do I do? I'm at that point now. I've unlocked that mission. Why am I not at that level? I went and did a mission yesterday, I think it was. One of the cool things is that it's got, this is a spoiler by the way, but you can travel to Asgard. I won't say why, but that is a thing. You can travel to Asgard. And that was cool. That was fine. Like I say, that is one of the times I had to be a higher level than I was. And then you return from Asgard. I did a load of stuff, and then it was like, you can go back to Asgard. It's like, alright, cool, I'll do that. When I got there, I found that all of the enemies were really tough. I was like, what's the deal here? Checked the list of the missions, and it was like, you need to be level 100, a minimum of 190 to be here. And I was just like, I'm 100 if that. So I tried. The enemies were kicking my ass left, right and centre, and in the end I just had to leave. So I'm really struggling with the level system in this game, unlike the other ones that do employ this levelling system. As is the way, I will continue with the game until the game doesn't want me to, and I will keep you updated. I have felt a couple of times recently like maybe I wanted something else to play, and I have got I've got Immortals Phoenix Rising, I've got Avengers, I've still got those side missions to do on Watch Dogs. I still need to, I need to go back and play Hitman 3 again and do the missions differently. I've got the New Game Plus to do Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I've still got Cyberpunk in the wrapper, because, there's no point in even giving that a go, is there? So I'm a bit like, I have got other stuff that I could be playing, and I have felt a little bit like I needed a change, so I wondered if there was maybe a little bit of that. So we'll see. Like I say, my intention is to continue playing it, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to play because it feels like it doesn't want me to. It's like, oh, you're not high enough level, but you can't get to be a higher level. So I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. But we'll see. Admittedly, I have gone to the high level area because it wasn't showing in red, it was showing in white, which generally means you can go there. So I have gone to a high level area, and it seems okay at the moment. But I just feel like the leveling's getting further and further away from where I am. I imagine it wants me to give them some money or something. That's usually what these things are about. Maybe it's a setting. Maybe I'll have to look that up. Anyway, that's that. Thank you very much for listening along, and until next time, I'll say bye, and I'll see you then. So there you go. What do you think of that? Another one done. Poof. Yeah. YouTube watchers, be a love and subscribe. In fact, if you're any kind of podcast enjoyer, whether it's YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes, subscribe where you can. It's a big help to us. Everybody jump over to thecookiecast.com. Check us out over there. We've got social media links, email links, and it looks pretty, I guess. So that's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.